What is going on, people? Welcome back to another episode of the Mike Roach Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, the days of summer are coming to an end and it's about to start getting juicy again. Okay, it's really about to start getting juicy again. So I'm going to begin here. Now, there have been a few things going on. It's been a minute since I've done a podcast, it's been at least close to 2 weeks. And so the consistency needs to start coming back. And I want to start it here with Bobby Webster. Now, I'm going to talk about for Bobby Webster first and foremost because MLSC read up his contract. He is still the GM, but he is now the head of basketball operations as well. He is taking over from Masai Ujiri. And this is not really a surprise here, folks. Not really a surprise here. Okay. Most people, I would assume most people, did expect Bobby Webster to take over as head of basketball operations. And like I mentioned, is still the GM. There's no quote unquote president title, but he is in charge of that. So that's a step up for Bobby Webster in terms of what he's going to be doing on top of being the general manager. But this should be interesting. This is good. I'm interested to see what Bobby is going to be like in this position. I'm excited for him. Bobby's an incredibly smart, humble guy. He's, you know, the personality obviously will be a bit different than Masai Ujiri. Masai Ujiri is a kind of guy who's a bit, that larger than life character type of guy. But it'll be interesting to see what Bobby is like in this position. I guess we're going to hear him speak a bit more and be a bit more vocal in front of the microphone, which is going to be cool to see. And so I am interested in this. And like I mentioned, no surprise here because Bobby knows the landscape, right? He knows and understands already what this team is. He knows the roster clearly. He's put it together. He's been here for many years. And all these guys that you have on the roster, I mean, let's Agbaji, Barnes, Barrett, Battle, Chomchi, Grady Dick, Hepburn, Ingram. I mean, the list goes on. You got a pretty decent looking team here. And he's a money guy. He knows and understands the money. He's cultivated relationships with players, their agents, their representatives, whatever the case is. And do you necessarily want to have to bring another piece in from the outside to have to build all these relationships and do all these things again when a guy like Bobby Webster is already here? You don't really want to do that. And we already know, for the most part, from what we have heard, at least, and what we have read, is that the big reason why Masai Ujiri is out was based on money. He was the highest paid president, if not close to. Pretty sure he was $15 million price tag. And when you're making that type of money and you're not making the playoffs, the team isn't very good. Now, new management comes into MLSE and they're like, okay, well, the hell with this. We're not going to be paying you $15 million to not be in the playoffs. We can do that without you. And so they're just going to go ahead and see what they can do without paying that 15 million. And let's face it, can you get worse than you did last season? Hardly. And the Raptors were trying to lose last season, but we'll get back into that in a second. So first of all, this Bobby Webster extension, MLSC CEO Keith Pelly, when he was asked about it after making the decision, he said it was based on roster construction, team culture, competitive landscape. And I'm sure there were other things beside those things as well, but those were obviously big factors on how he chose Bobby Webster to bring him as his head of basketball operations, along with re-signing him to be the general manager. Now, in regards to the roster construction, the team looks good on paper. I'll say it again. I said the team looks good on paper. And I'm going to share the screen with you because I want to show you guys the roster. I mean, you pretty much already know it clearly, right? Um, but let's just take a look at it again anyway. And let me change my screen here. Let's take a look at it anyway and just see who we have on this roster to give you a refresher. I did name some of them before: Agbaji, Scotty Barnes, Barrett, Jameson Battle, Chomchi, Grady Dick, Chucky Hepburn, Ingram, Lawson, Sandro, Elijah Martin, Mobo, Colin Murray Boyles, who was our number 9 pick, Jakob Pertl, Quickly, Sar, Jamal Shed, Garrett Temple, Jacoby Walter. Like, the team looks pretty good on paper. And as I mentioned to you, and I've said this before many different times, you don't want to judge this team based directly on what you saw last season. You want to be careful not to do that, right? Because as I mentioned many times, and people who watch this team know this team, you guys know I'm a broadcast assistant. I'm around the team. I'm at all these games at home. They were trying to lose last season. I mean, that's not rocket science for anybody who pays attention to this team. And even though they were trying to lose pretty much every damn game they played, and I don't mean literally just guys on the court going out there and stinking up the joint. There were a lot of injuries as well. So there was no consistency with the lineup in terms with, Barnes, Barrett, and Quickly and Pirtle. A lot of guys were injured last season. So there was no building in return in regards to them being on the floor together, right? And so you got to take that into consideration as well. But they still won 30 plus games while trying to lose. So this year they're going to be trying to win. They're going to have something to prove. And if guys are healthy with this team, I think they're going to be pretty good. Like, you're looking at a starting lineup of Quickly, Barrett, Ingram, Barnes, and Pirtle. It's a big lineup, athletic. You have guys who can play make, they're unselfish, can shoot the ball. You have some defense and rebounding. This team isn't going to be that bad. They're really not. And so, all those things considered, there are other factors that we'll speak about in regards to the rest of the Eastern Conference. But just looking at the Raptors, they're going to be a decent team. They're going to have a young bench. You still have Grady Dick, Jameson Battle. I did mention Chomchi. He'll probably get some time this year, probably not a whole lot, but you'll get some time. AJ Lawson is here. Sandro is here. Martin, Mobile, Colin Murray Boyles. Jacoby Walter is a player that I really like. Jamal Shed, another player that I really like. They're going to have a decent bench. Now, most of the NBA and analysts and stuff probably aren't going to talk too much about these guys because they really don't watch this team. They just say things because, it's the easy thing to say, and it's kind of the lazy way out where they don't really have to mention much talking about this roster because they don't give a damn about them. But if you pay attention to this team and some of these young guys on the roster, Colin Murray Boyles, another one who looked pretty decent in Summer League. The Raptors have a pretty decent roster here, even from a bench perspective. I'm going to be interested to see what they can do, especially early on, because they're going to be key this season if the Raptors are going to be successful, right? So it's going to be interesting to watch. I mean, they're people are going to be watching them. They will be watching the Raptors this season because people are intrigued, especially after getting Brandon Ingram at the trade deadline and then him not playing at all last season. We want to see what this is going to look like. So we're going to be very interested in seeing this. And another thing is, yes, I know people are talking about how expensive this team is, almost being into that luxury tax. The Raptors have pieces that can be moved, and people are expecting them to make moves eventually. Not exactly sure who. A lot of talk about RJ Barrett. I really like RJ Barrett as a player. But we don't know what is ultimately going to happen with all the guys on this roster. They do have options, right? Bobby Webster has options here. He has good players. He can make moves. These aren't like some scrub scrub bum players that are filling out these roster. These are guys that are going to be wanted across the league, especially a guy like RJ Barrett. Even though we don't know what's going to happen with RJ Barrett, just using him as an example. I'm just saying if Bobby Webster wants to make moves with some of these guys that he can do that. He has options, which is always good. Now, competitive landscape. I mentioned to you, the Raptors last year were just blatantly trying to lose. Fine, whatever. It is what it is. And that's how the cookie crumbled last season. But this year, they want to win. They're going to have something to prove. And Scotty Barnes, he ain't going to want that again. Brandon Ingram coming in. He came here for a reason. Guys are coachable. They're going to be hungry. The roster was already decent, and he's being added to that. And I mentioned to you, being healthy, damn it, that's a part of it. And we're going to have to hope. We are going to have to hope that guys can stay healthy and that guys can build upon what they were getting better at last year. A guy like RJ Barrett and Barnes and Pirtle and Quickly. We're going to have to hope that these guys continue to build and develop and get better, continue to be unselfish. They make sacrifices for each other. It's going to be about all those things. Okay. But this year they're going to be hungry. They want to win. And yes, you have a bunch of collectively good players, not necessarily a quote unquote superstar. But at this point in the game, it really doesn't, not to say it doesn't matter. It always matters when you have a guy that's on 5 stars, right? Like at that superstar level, that definitely always matters. But at the same time, if you have a collective group of guys that can play, understand each other, sacrifice, a cohesive unit, willing to do what it takes to win. The Indiana Pacers are a good example of where that can get you. If you got 9 or 10 guys on your roster that can play, they can defend, they can score, they can change things up quickly. You got to have good coaching too. You got to have good coaching too. Guys have to buy in to your system. All of that is going to be a part of it. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Like we got to see training camp. I want to see what the vibe is going to be like. I'm pretty sure it's going to be good because it seems like all of these guys really like each other and will play for each other. So there are a bunch of different factors that are going to shape the way that the Raptors play this season. And I mentioned to you players, vibe, competitive landscape. We did talk about the roster, team culture, all of those things matter. And the East will be competitive, but it will be significantly weaker than it typically is. Right? Like if we look at the standings here. One second, folks. Let me just change my screen up here a little bit. If we look at the standings here, okay. Yeah, so we're looking at Cleveland, Boston. Cleveland will be there again because they just have a damn good team. Boston is going to be interesting, right? Because you lose some guys now. Holiday, Tatum, you lose some guys now. So you don't really know what this team is going to be. They're still going to be a good team, but they're probably going to fall off a little bit. New York Knicks will still be there. Halliburton for the Indiana Pacers, so they're going to be looking a bit different. Dame is gone from the Milwaukee Bucks, even though he was injured a bunch. The Bucks are these teams are still all going to be good, but probably not as good as they were last season. Milwaukee, I really don't know. Um, Detroit, they're probably going to be good again. Probably improve. I don't know. I don't know. Miami, jury's out on them. They might be a decent team, but Atlanta's a team to me that's going to be better this year. This year for sure, with the addition of Nikhil Alexander Walker, and then you get Porzingis, and then you get his name is slipping my mind, the shooting guard out of Memphis. The Atlanta Hawks are going to be looking better. And then you have, Philadelphia, that was abysmal last year, Charlotte, Washington, Brooklyn. Like the Raptors have a good enough roster where they should be able to be competitive in the Eastern Conference. I don't see a reason why they should not be in the top 8, if not the top 6. So hopefully, I mean, we're going to see what the Raptors are made of, but ultimately, what I was talking about here is that Bobby Webster, he has his work cut out for him, but I do believe he is the right guy for the job. I think everybody should I wouldn't panic too much. I haven't heard anybody really panicking saying, oh my God, it's Bobby Webster. He's not going to be able to do the job. He's going to be fine. He's going to do the job, right? He's going to be good at it too. He's a smart guy. He knows what he's doing. I've spoken to Bobby Webster not a whole bunch of times, but a few times over the years that I've been there. And the guy's he's a brilliantly smart dude. He can make the tough choice. He can make the tough calls, the tough decisions. He has the experience to do the job, and I expect him to do the job well. I do expect him to do the job well, and I'm looking forward to seeing him do a good job. You guys can let me know in the comments what you're predicting in regards to how Bobby Webster will do in his first year at the helm of the Toronto Raptors in charge of basketball operations. Okay, so folks, your boy Mike Roach is here. I'm going to be coming out with more content on a more frequent basis. I'm hoping to be doing something a lot more often, especially now that we're coming out of the days of summer. But overall, man, I've been kind of struggling in regards to making content at times because I want to speak more about things that just have to do with sports, right? I'm trying to find a balance there, and it's kind of tough, but I'm working everything out right now as I speak. So, folks, it's your boy Mike Roach. I'll be back again soon. Peace. I'm out.